I mean, let's be honest, the doctor would be on the picket line. Hey folks, so today's video was going to be something else, but instead it's going to be this. I want to talk about Doctor Who, the SAG-AFTRA and WGA strike, and how that is going to impact the future of this channel. Here's the quick bullet points. I have been trying to figure out for a little while whether or not Doctor Who is considered to be under the strike order of these two unions. Now, I've talked about the WGA strike. I've talked about the SAG-AFTRA strike. I am in support of both these things. Now, the research that I had leaned towards Doctor Who not being under the strike order because it's shot in the UK with UK-based companies and falls under equity for most of its union work, at least as far as actors go. And equity is not striking. So my leaning was, I think it's going to be okay. Well, that turned out to not be the case. I have a friend on TikTok whose account I will link down there. She's a cosplayer, and that was the main way that she reached out directly to SAG-AFTRA and actually got a direct answer from them. I never heard back. I might have been trying to reach through the wrong channels, or maybe they haven't gotten to me yet. I don't know. But she wanted to hear back in terms of the status of Doctor Who, specifically because she is actually very well known as a 13th Doctor cosplayer. She's incredibly good at it. She's got the voice down perfect. But this was what she got back. So Doctor Who is considered to fall under the strike order. Now, this correspondence, which I have because she made it public, does not specifically say why. If I were to guess, and I'm going to, it's most likely because of the money that is involved in it from studios that fall under the strike order. And those two studios being Disney and Sony. A reminder that Sony owns Bad Wolf Studios, where the production for Doctor Who is happening, and Disney is throwing in a big chunk of money into, at the very least, the marketing, if not the production budget, in order to be able to carry the show on Disney+. Now, before people get confused on this does not mean that the show is not going to move forward with its own production due to the strike. That's not what I'm talking about here. I'm talking specifically about how this is going to relate to this channel, and I'll get more into that in a minute. But I want to be clear. So far as I can tell, because of what I mentioned earlier about the actors on the show falling under equity, and the WGA, I don't even know if there is an equivalent union in the UK or not, but there are no striking unions in the UK. So production on the show, so far as I know, will move forward and not be interrupted. However, in terms of union members promoting, talking about, and the idea of influencers promoting or talking about, for SAG-AFTRA and the WGA's purposes, they consider it to be under the strike order. So, again, I'm not talking about the production or whether or not after Series 14 more stuff will be produced or whether that'll be on hold. I don't think it will be put on hold. It might, but right now we don't know. But that's not what I'm talking about. I'm selfishly talking about myself and my own channel. So, what does this mean for the channel? Short version, it means no more Doctor Who stuff for as long as the strike is ongoing. Because as I said before, I do support the unions. And I want to help them as best I can. So earlier this week, you had the top 10 episodes for the 13th Doctor. And that is going to be the last Doctor Who related video that I do on this channel for the foreseeable future. And yeah, that's going to be a bit of a shift. Now, I suspect there's some questions some folks probably have about certain things and aspects of this, so I'm going to kind of do, I guess I'll call it a presumptive FAQ. I don't know if these will be the frequently asked questions, but they're the ones I'm anticipating. But Vera, are you even in the unions? No, I'm not. But as I said, I want to show solidarity to them. And the other factor is, acting against the strike order would impede any potential future admission to those unions. Do I have a realistic expectation that I would ever be eligible to join either of those unions? No, not really. But I'm still a creative person. I am an actor. I am a writer. And I'd prefer not to have those doors shut because I didn't stop talking about Doctor Who. That's the more selfish reason. But as I said, the more driving one is solidarity. I want to support these strikes. I want both unions to get what they are asking for, or as much of it as they possibly can. And I live on the other side of the country. I can't join the picket line, but I can do this. Aren't critics and reviewers exempt? Sort of. You might have seen or read or heard from other people on here or other influencers, etc., about some of the stuff that has been said with requests to work not being done by union members, but still impacts things. And SAG-AFTRA in specific has said that they are not requesting any kind of stop of critical work or reviews. Here's the thing, though. I'm not really a critic. I mean, Rotten Tomatoes considers me one, and that's nice. But honestly, what I do doesn't fall cleanly under the category of critic. Somebody writing a review for a periodical or even just doing hey, I saw this movie and here's what I thought, but like for a greater organization, be it a TV series, a news channel, whatever, those are critics. What I do, even though I do reviews and critical work, falls a lot more under the category of influencer. And as someone who straddles that line between critic and influencer, because ultimately I don't just do critical stuff, I do all manner of content talking about all sorts of stuff, and not just here on YouTube, but all over the place. Like, as much as I don't think I fit the typical influencer template or what most people think of when they hear that term, that is ultimately a more accurate description of what I am and what I do. And they are asking influencers to not do anything that could be considered promotional work. Now, I had already kind of stopped doing review content, partly out of solidarity and partly out of an abundance of caution. Because while it is certainly possible that maybe it would be okay for me to do reviews, like my position as either a critic or an influencer and exactly where I fall in that is so nebulous, like it just feels like a better idea for me to just cleanly go, I probably shouldn't do that right now. Can you still talk about classic Doctor Who? No. So even though you might think that a strike is only for upcoming and to be released work, the thing is Doctor Who as a property is under the strike order. So talking about classic Doctor Who, which I do enjoy doing, is something that could still be considered promotional because it brings attention to the property overall, even though I'd be talking about stuff from decades ago. This is the same reason why, starting not this coming Monday, but the Monday after, the Jumpgate podcast that I do with Jesse Gender, talking about Babylon 5, is going to go on hiatus because Babylon 5, though it is a show from the 90s, is still a live property. It has an animated direct-to-DVD movie coming out, and it is owned by Warner Brothers Discovery, which is a studio under the strike order. So if you are a podcast listener, don't worry. The podcast feed is not going away. You'll still have new stuff on Mondays. It's just going to be stuff that we can talk about. Because also, to be clear, when it comes to like avoiding review material, it's not strictly speaking all review material. It's reviews of things that are owned or possibly even in part owned with something like Doctor Who, just because of the money mixed in. From studios that are being struck against. But that is primarily affecting the major studios with headquarters in the US. So that is not going to impact certain things. So on, say, the break room of Geeks, you might start seeing more stuff related to, I need to comb through what commissions I've got waiting, but independent films, theoretically anime, video games, and it'll still be review material, but it won't be on properties that are under the strike order, which, unfortunately, I now know Doctor Who is, as is Babylon 5. What about non-review stuff, like the lists you do? That actually is a much cleaner answer. That's an absolute no. So it was actually the reviews that were the most nebulous, because if I wanted to try and make an argument that I am a critic, which I don't think I can make that argument. I do criticism and I do reviews, but I'm an influencer ultimately. But that was kind of nebulous. Things like listicles and things like that. No, that's very cleanly something that serves a promotional purpose. Not in the sense that I'm being directly paid by the BBC or Disney or Sony or anybody else to make them, but it is just going, hey, let's talk about this show, which serves for their purposes, for the purposes of the studio, as a promotional aspect. And that was going to have to stop kind of regardless, at least in terms of what I knew to be stuff under the strike order, which until recently I didn't know Doctor Who was, but now again, I know now. So no Doctor Who then. No Doctor Who. I'm not thrilled either, but like I said, I think what the unions are doing is important, and I want to support it. And I want to lend that support under the guidelines in terms of what SAG-AFTRA and the WGA are asking people in positions like mine to do in order to help them. Are you mad or annoyed with other channels that aren't taking as hard a line as you on this? No. No, I'm not. I don't personally know of any channels that, at least that I watch, that are saying they don't support the strike. How they choose to support the strike may not be the way that I choose to do it. They may ultimately choose not to really support the strike, but honestly, unless they are talking out against it, they're going to do what they're going to do. And as I said, some of the decisions that I'm making are out of an abundance of caution. There are some channels that what they do, particularly in the sphere of Doctor Who, there are some Who-tubers, that's literally all they do. Doctor Who may be the thing I talk about the most on here, but it's not the only thing I talk about. I can pivot to other topics. There are channels that are built on talking about nothing other than Doctor Who. What the heck are they supposed to do? No, I'm not mad at them. I don't think they're wrong. I'm not beefing with them. I have friends, people who I genuinely considered friends who, that sounded like past tense, consider still to be my friends who are doing Doctor Who related material or who are doing review work of stuff that is under the strike order. And I'm not mad at them. They're making their decision. I'm making mine. So I'm not mad at anybody, and I'm not recommending that you be mad at anybody. What I'm doing here is not a guide that all influencers, YouTubers, whatever they may consider themselves to be, should follow. This is just what I'm doing. So, again, to recap, no Doctor Who, change to the podcast feed, and any review content, which is more a thing for my secondary channel, the Break Room of Geeks, is probably going to be more limited in scope in order to avoid being on work that is under the strike order. So what does that mean if the strike isn't resolved come November? Well, it means I won't be talking about the specials. I just won't. Doesn't mean I won't watch them, but I won't talk about them. And to be clear, this isn't just videos I put up here. This includes lives. If you come to me on a live stream or when I'm streaming on Twitch and you say, hey, what did you think about this movie, episode of Doctor Who, whatever, my answer is going to be, I have no opinion until the strike is over. I know for folks who watch me primarily for Doctor Who, this is going to be a bit of a blow. And you'll make your own call as to whether you stick around or whether you wait until the strike to end and then come back. Because trust me, once the strike's over, I've got to come back to talk about Doctor Who. It's my favorite show. I'm not going to stop. Well, not for good, at any rate. But I am going to have to stop for now. So that is what I found out this morning at time of recording for you folks a couple days ago, that Doctor Who is considered to be under the strike order and how it is going to impact this channel. If you have any other questions that I didn't cover in my FAQ kind of thing, you can drop those down in the comments and I will address them to the best of my ability. Again, please don't ask me to give opinions on what other people are or aren't doing or what other people say you should or shouldn't be doing. This is the determination that I have come to based off the information that I have, and it is based largely off of information that came directly from SAG-AFTRA. If I get new information from primary sources like that, maybe things will shift. But other influencers, other reviewers, other whoever or whatever they may consider themselves to be, they'll make their own decisions. These are mine. Don't ask me my opinions on what other people are doing. So other than that one, feel free to ask questions. And I'm going to bring up the Patreon because depending on what things I choose to address, I don't know, maybe this will branch me out into topics that'll actually do well for the channel, or maybe things will just start going down in terms of engagement on the channel. The Patreon's probably going to matter more than it used to for the duration of this, if we are being completely honest. But also, I'm trying to look at it as an opportunity to maybe stretch my wings and tackle some things outside my normal wheelhouse, just for virtue of not having Doctor Who as sort of the default fallback. I mean, I had a tendency to do, if there weren't new Doctor Who episodes airing, even when I wasn't doing Take-Two Doctor Who reviews, I used to do a Doctor Who video a month pretty regularly. It was like, I don't know what to do for this week. I'll do something Doctor Who related. It was easy because it's easy for me to talk about. I got to figure out other stuff now. We'll see how that goes. In any case, thank you for listening. And thank you for sticking around. Thank you for your support. Like, share, subscribe, bell. Yay. Don't worry too much about it, though. What I want you to remember is that you are beautiful, you are valid, and you are loved. You are the council. I'm just running the meetings. And until next time, workers of the world, unite! A special thanks to my highest supporting patrons, Robin Moore, Zubin Lutfullah, Tarak, the thing that goes doink in the anime, Ruth, Oliver B., Solitary Pictures, Ulrich Bogdan, Melinda Walters, Jen, Auntie Kate 808, Becky Sparks, Renabulax the Poodle, Robin Powell, Tracy Scrabbit, Angry Casperl, Adam R.D.L. Taylor, Dave Hall, and Rosalind Bennett. You'll see a bunch of other names down there as well. There's plenty of things to get on the Patreon, and yeah, you can hear me attempt to say your name without embarrassing myself. Check out the rewards, and thank you for everyone who supports this.